Welcome everyone. We'll talk about competing in EMs. EM stands for emerging marketing markets. Absolutely, the markets which is on the verge of moving from developing stage to a developed economy is what we are looking into with. So yes, let us proceed with what can be done, and let me distinguish the differences between advanced economies, developing economies, and emerging economies. We're talking about countries, we're talking about market, what makes emerging economies or markets much attractive for the international business, for the bigger audiences, simply for the fact that bigger organizations are looking at it. Estimating the true potential of emerging markets, risk, challenges of doing business in emerging market, strategies for doing business in emerging market as in what we will talk about it, and catering to the economic development needs of an emerging markets and the developing economies as the case might be. So yes, this is what we'll be discussing around in today's video. So first, allow me to classify countries based on the development of their economies, development of their market. Now, advanced economies are post-industrial economies characterized by extremely high per capita income, highly competitive industries, well-developed infrastructures for commercial activities. Examples includes Australia, Canada, Japan, New Zealand, United States, almost the western part of the Europe. These are to be classified as advanced economies. Allow me to throw lights on developing economies. Essentially, developing economies are low economic income countries, characterized by limited industrialization and possibly stagnant economies altogether. Example, the low income countries would with limited industrialization and stagnating economies would be Bangladesh, Nicaragua, and Zaire. Absolutely, yes. These are my developing economies, but probably they don't have the infrastructures around there, plentiful of resources, plentiful of material, plentiful of system, everything working. The government is very effective. Now, allow me to disclose everything about emerging market economies. They are basically nothing but a subset of developing economies that have achieved substantial industrialization, substantial modernization, probably even improved their living standards for their citizens. This is marked by remarkable economic growth, and that is what emerging economies is all about it. Approximately 27, 28 countries qualifies as an emerging economies. Let's say in South Asia, Latin America, Middle East, eastern part of the Europe. To name a few, we have Brazil, we have Russia, we have India, we have China, also known as South Africa. The BRICS conglomerate as a country would be looking into it. So emerging market economies are most distinguished. Characteristic countries are enjoying rapid improvement in living standard, rapid growth of the middle class with rising aspirations. Importance of this world economy is increasing as an attractive destination for export, for foreign direct investment, FDIs, and sourcing. Why? Because a large, substantial part of the population is standing out there, living out there. Emerging market countries are evolving towards a wealthy nation status as on whereon basis. They are substantially modernized. They have substantial industries. Now, everything that is going to a developing economies, allow me to throw some lights and give you with an example. Example is Hong Kong, Israel, Saudi Arabia, Singapore, South Korea, Taiwan, and all. 2004 emerging market, the Czech Republic, the Hungary, the Poland received a boost when they become a member of the European Union. By joining the European Union, these countries have already adopted a stable monetary policy, a stable trade status. They leverage their low cost labor to attract investment from Western Europe and thus boosting their economies altogether. The dynamics, emerging market account for approximately 40%. It will not be a far-fetched idea if I say in another 5, 6 years' time that it would be a 50% of the world GDP. Absolutely, mark my word. They represent over 30% of the export, probably, and receive just 20% of an FDI of foreign direct investment. Look how effective they are. Look how the return of investment is such nice, how prudent it makes sense to be in business in emerging market. Mid 2000, the emerging market collectively enjoyed an average annual growth of approximately 7%, and that's very remarkable feat. Much faster than advanced economies, where they grow at the speed of 2%, 3%. Max to max would be 4%, but at 7%, it is approximately twice the rate of the advanced economies. Essentially benefiting from low cost labor, essentially benefiting from knowledge workers, government support, low cost capital, powerful, highly network conglomerate. People are aware of it. Technologically, they are quite in an advanced stage, and they have proper understanding of the market. The new global challengers, it's what we are calling it RDEs. Essentially, I've converted the recently developing economies as RDEs, have rapidly growing markets. Some of are huge. You look at India, you look at China, what a population it makes around it. Approximately 60% of the world population live in the South Asia altogether. Look at the market. Can you ignore this size? No companies can ignore this size, this market. So RDAs, recently developing economies, have low cost resources. Difficult operating environment at home produces some highly capable companies. Absolutely, they know the intricacies. RDs are training grounds for competing global incumbent, and you name it, we have it. In the most advanced of the countries, the most advanced of the companies, people from this background, from these countries, are actually funneling their growth altogether. Six strategic globalization pattern. First is the taking RDE banks global. Let's say Chinese Hisense, absolutely customer electronics to Africa. Hisense, the 5G equipment of China, is actually ruling the roost. Then turning RD engineering to a global innovations. The recently developing economies. You look at the soft power of India, the companies like Infosys, the companies like Wipro, you name it, and they do wonderful company, wonderful businesses around the globe. They provide everything on the back end which is required by a software to run within a particular ecosystem of the company. Assuming global category leadership, the third point is what we are talking about: Hong Kong Johnson Electric. We can also talk about South Korea's Samsung. You name it and we can have it. Monetizing RD's natural resources, recently developing economy, natural resources which is plentifully available. Look at Brazil. You have the biggest forest of the earth out there, Amazon, and they have wonderful food producers out there. Company like Sadia, company like Perdiago, they are ruling the roost. Their product is available even in Australia, even in Europe, and people are gobbling it up. Rolling out new business model to multiple markets. We have Mexico's Siemens conglomerate, Cemex, global acquisition strategies, as in when on they are building their competencies and the market thereof. The last one would be acquiring natural resources. You look at it, Shanghai's Bao Steel, globally expanding secure, stable iron resources, investing in Australia, investing in Africa, and probably trying to own up the mine so that they secure the resources for their production self. So these are my six strategic globalization patterns for the emerging markets altogether. Transition economies. Transition economies engage in a large scale privatization of the state owned units. Yes, from state owned unit, the central government unit, the federal government unit, these have been privatized. These have been given under the to the private entities to run the show, because the government doesn't believe in excess regulation, entrenchment, bureaucracy. They are now introducing legal framework just as some sort of governance issues, sort of rules, guidelines which needs to be followed around, so that there is a growth in consumer interest. There is the fact that intellectual property rights should be flourishing around it. Russia endured high inflation with an annual price increase reaching up to 100%, hindering foreign direct investment, hindering economic development. We would love to avoid such kind of scenarios. Shaking up of the Soviet legacy required the country to restructure not just firms and institutions but also adopt new values about private ownership, profits, intellectual properties, etc. Initially, Western companies doing business in Russia found it impossible to recruit managers who understand modern management practices out there in that part of the land, in that part of the globe. So we're talking about the market liberalization, which is moving at a breakneck speed in the transition economies. Transition economies liberalized by the markets more often than many foreign companies initiate, set up their shops, make an investment, try to build a relationship with them. Privatization provided many opportunities for foreign firms to enter these markets by purchasing former state enterprise. In Eastern Europe, Western companies are leveraging inexpensive labor, absolutely dirt cheap labor, and other advantages in the region to manufacture products which are bound for export, which are bound for a different consumption in a different part of the world. Hungary, Poland, Czech Republic, and other former East Bloc have made great strides in political and economic restructuring, and this is what we need to go across with it. What makes EMs, the emerging market, attractive? Allow me to uh, ponder over this particular question into next 2 3 slides. First and foremost, emerging markets are the target market. Why? Because they have a huge population. Every population would have their own request for demands for consumption pattern. So this is what we are looking at. We don't only have a bigger population in the emerging markets, but these population would have a deeper pockets. That means they can splurge, they can spend, they can put money and purchase products which have been produced elsewhere. So they are not there. Next target markets about emerging economies are the population are not only middle class. Population don't only have a deep pockets. The population is most vibrant and they are very young. They know what they are expecting. Their consumption pattern is vociferous. So emerging markets can be targeted for products like technologies, sophisticated technologies, manufactured things, luxury oriented items, which makes their life comfortable to the young population. Look what we are looking into it. Emerging markets don't only have a huge population, a deep pocket, a younger population, but they also have technologies. They also have cheap labor. They also have the resources. Doesn't it give you enough opportunities, reasons for you to invest or be present in the emerging economies? So yes, emerging markets are target markets thereby. We look into it. Lockheed Aircraft, whose Hercules turboprop is a popular airliner in a poorer countries, which has been developed by carry bulk commodities in a relatively low cost. Novartis, Pfizer, the pharmaceutical firms, the giants that reap big profit from selling vaccine and medicine can be stored without refrigeration when shipped to a distant market. Demand is growing fastest in the emerging market. Black and Decker, Robert Bosch. The fastest growing market is Asia. The fastest growing market is Latin America. The fastest growing market is Africa and the Middle East. Look, these are the brands which are belonging to the advanced economies, but their growth is in the emerging markets. The government and state enterprise are target for sale of infrastructure, related products, service, machinery, power transmission, equipment, transportation equipment, high technology product, as the case might be. The second reasons that I would love to address is emerging markets are becoming a manufacturing basis. Why? Because they have cheap labor. Why? Because even that cheap labor has a good value for money in terms of quality. Why? Because they don't only have cheap labor, quality labor, but they have quality resources also. I'm talking about natural resources this time. So we need to understand. Look at South Africa, they have diamonds out there. Those are not advanced economies. They have a bulk of diamonds, industrial diamond. Brazil, you have the bulk of bauxite out there, the main ingredient for your aluminum sheets, right? Thailand, you have a manufacturing location for multinational enterprises. Let us talk about Sony. Let us talk about Sharp, Mitsubishi. Now we have cheap labors. Malaysia, Taiwan, Motorola, Intel, Philips. Everybody have their semiconductor businesses located in either of Malaysia or in Taiwan. We have platform for consumer electronics and auto assembly only settled down and either in Mexico or in China. So emerging market is a sourcing destination. You need to understand we're talking about selected value adding activities, including production of intermediate goods, including production of finished good from independent external suppliers. This helps foreign firms become efficient, concentrate on their core competencies and obtain competitive advantage. Offshoring, where the sourcing involves foreign supplier or production bases. Global sourcing refers to procurement of products and services from foreign location. Procurement can be from either independent supplier or probably from a company owned supplier. Let me give you the third reason why emerging markets are sourcing destination, because here it is what we call not only natural resources but also not only natural resources, not only manpower resources, but also let's say talk about the soft resources in terms of call center in India, in Eastern Europe and Philippines. You have your call centers going around it, you have your software power which is back running at the back end, running from these kind of centers, these kind of countries. Dell, IBM outsource many technological functions to knowledge workers in India. Intel, Microsoft have a much bigger programming activities and huge investment in Bengaluru or Bangalore and in India. Investment from abroad benefits emerging market as they lead the new job, as they lead the production capacity, transfer of technologies, linkages in the global market as the case might be. So estimating a true potential of emerging market depends is very challenging. The economic and social environment in these countries are too peculiar, limited availability of data sources or reliability of information. Market research can be costly. So, and probably if it is not only costly but also very less precise than in advanced economy. So you better do it in a much focused fashion. Market potential indicators include gross domestic product, GDP growth rate, income distribution, commercial activities, the rate of urbanization, consumer expenditures for discretionary items, and unemployment rate as the case might be. MPIs, the market potential indicators, three practical approaches for employing assessing markets. Potential of an individual countries, let's say the per capita income, let's say the size of the small market or middle class, the mix of market potential indicators as the case might be. Remember, we are only interested in GNI and not GDP. GNI stands for gross national income, GDP the gross domestic product, which is GNI is just a fragment of GDP, because this will give me a brief idea about who has the where is the money and who has the money, the population, how spread, how big the market would always be or all around it. Then we have the triple P's, the purchasing power parity. This needs to be adjusted with the certain GDP. In line with per capita GDP of comparison of different countries, one should have a purchasing parity powers exchange rate rather than the market exchange rate. Every purchasing power is not at pair with the market rates. Purchasing power parity adjustments provides a much more realistic indicator of purchasing power of the consumer in emerging and developing economies. Purchasing power parity adjusted per capita GDP more accurately represent the amount of product the consumer can buy in a given country using their own currencies and consistent with their own standard of living as the case might be. So middle class as an indicator of market potential. Now that can be a market potential, definitely yes. Why? Because middle class is the bulging class that we would love to go address. This is a part, this is a class of economy or the society which has a definite consumption pattern. They represent the proportion of population in between the wealthy and probably the poor, has an economic independence and consume absolutely many discretionary items, including electronics, furnitures, automobile, recreation, education. Remember, the size and the growth of middle class in emerging market is one of the best indicators whether to enter the market or not in a dynamic marketing economy. Demographic trend 10 indicates in the next two coming decades the proportion of middle class household in the emerging market, because then only I will be able to protect the revenue growth in the company. So does it make sense to invest in a new company, new country, and so on and so forth? it makes every sense for the emerging market because of the bulging population and most importantly, the ever increasing middle class. While in India, probably even in Indonesia, features excellent large middle class population. In absolute terms, per capita GDP in this country is rather modest. If I may say so, a bit low on the lower side, especially when compared to South Korea, China, Russia, Mexico. The income is relatively higher at 49 to 48% respectively. Brazil middle class controls only about 35% of the national incomes. In relative terms, South Korea has made absolutely stupendous progress by building a sizable middle class, which accounts for approximately 55% of the national income. So, yes, now we need to go about with EMPI, as Emerging Market Potential Index. It combines a number of factors so as to measure the relative robustness of the market. Let me give you the factors. One is market size, the population of the country, especially the urban population, market growth rate, at which growth rate the GDP is growing. Is it growing? Is it erratic? If it is growing on a steady fashion, makes sense. Market intensity, private consumption, as in the people who are consuming the electronics item, the furnitures, you name it, the education, the holidays, what kind of discretionary expenditures are people interested in making it? Is it growing? What is it? Is it erratic? If it is growing steadily, makes sense to invest. Market consumption capacity, the percentage share of income held by a country's middle class. Then comes the commercial infrastructure. Characters such as the number of mobile phone subscriber. You look at it, it gives you a healthy information as the number of people who are actually connected, or actually you can tap in, density of the telephone lines, number of PCs or personal computers, density of paved roads, population per capita, per retail outlet. Does it makes economically viable? Economic freedom is the degree of government intervention that we are looking into it. Market receptivity, the particular country's inclinations toward trade with an exporter country, and most importantly, the country risk. Country risk is the stability of the government that we are looking into it. The political risks that every country enjoys or does not enjoy. So ranking can be provided by providing a method of prioritizing EMs or emerging market. Online EMPI rankings are interactive. Definitely, yes, everybody can speak around it, contribute towards this, and probably user can rank the market on the basis of the 8 dimensions that I've just cited to you in the previous slide. Remember, EMPI, emerging market potential indicators, would give have been already been stated by Global Edge. Managers can modify the assigned weights to their requirement, probably towards their industry or even as per their company they're working for. Managers may add additional indicators that are not currently included in the EMPI, the index, as a way of redefining the tool for a greater precision, as they may add additional countries beyond the emerging markets already represented in the index. The absence of reliable government authorities as to the business cost, yes, increases risk, reduces managers' ability to forecast the business condition. Political instability is associated with corruptions, probably even a weaker legal jurisdiction systems as a concern, and this might actually discourage you because your profits of the company you may not be able to repatriate. The tax regime might be erratic. You might not be able to defend. So that's the reason. The example is Russia bureaucratic practices favor well-connected homegrown firms, threaten the business activities of foreign firms. That is the reason denying access to Russia's energy resources, harming foreign investors' confidence in a big way. Even if they exist, let's say what are the challenges of doing a business in emerging market? First and foremost is the weak intellectual property protection. Even if they exist, they are not implemented. The intellectual property protection right, even if they exist, they are not interpreted. They are not executed also. They are not even enforced. Argentina's enforcement of copyright on recorded music, videos, books, computer software is absolutely abysmal. Laws against internet piracies are weak and ineffective. China, Indonesia, Russia, where counterfeiting is mostly common. In fact, it may not be a exaggeration if you say Counterfeiting is an established business out there. India doesn't have a patent law at all. Probably this discourages the foreign firm from investing into India. And that is what needs to be firmed up. These are the drawbacks that the country specific should take a note of it. We're talking about challenges, we should be talking about transparency, or rather, should I say, the lack of transparency, burdensome administrative issues, as well as excessive requirement for licenses, paperwork, approval actually makes one desist from investing in a company. Example, American International Group, AIG, formed a joint venture with an Indian conglomerate called Tata to enter the India's undeserved 8 billion insurance market. And it still took approximately 6 years beyond the Indian government to grant AIG permission to sell property and life insurances. Look at the bureaucratic network that needs to be gone through. Approximately 6 years. So excessive bureaucracy means lack of transparency. That is, legal and political systems are not open, not accountable. Where anti-corruption laws are weak, bribery, kickback, and extortions are common. We're talking about transparency's international ranking. Emerging markets such as Argentina, such as Indonesia, Venezuela, experiences absolute magnanimous corruption issues and things from time to time. And when I say time to time, it can features once every month or a quarter, perhaps. Let me talk about the other challenges about partner availability, about their willingness, about their qualification. Foreign firm needs seek alliances with local partners in country characterized by inadequate legal, political framework, gaining access to local market knowledge, supplier, distributors, networks, and key government contact. Qualified business partners in emerging markets are not readily available. Often in emerging markets, one has to contend with second best, third best partner candidate and provide much technical and managerial assistance to upgrade a partner's capacity. And that is what we need to go around with. Next, one of the most pertinent issue that I find is the dominance of the family conglomerate, or there are few families who actually control over either of the resources or the companies. Many emerging markets are dominated by family owned rather than a public owned businesses. Family conglomerate, as I would love to say it, largely owned the private sector's companies altogether. This is highly diversified, controlled economic activities, and remember the power of the economic activities then comes get concentrated only a family of few. South Korea, where they call Shaobols, the top 30 uh, family conglomerates accounts for approximately 50% of the assets and industry in the Korean economy. Look at the famous brand Samsung, the most famous Korean family conglomerate, has an annual revenue of approximately $140 billion and counting. In India, they are essentially called business houses. In Latin America, they are known as grupos. In Turkey, where there's a holding company, the KOC Group accounts for approximately 20% of the trading in the Istanbul stock market. What we are looking at, the Sabanik provides approximately 5% of technological Turkish national tax revenue, as the case might be. So, how do we go with them? Do we manage these strategies? Now, let me talk about the family conglomerate strategies. Most major family conglomerate in Korea, let's say KOC, Sapanik in Turkey, Wipro in Mexico, Astra in Indonesia, are absolutely highly diversified. Own their they own their own financing operation, banks, distribution channels, you name it, and they are into the business. The family conglomerate makes valuable venture partners in emerging market because they can reduce risk, because it takes they can reduce time also. The capital requirement for entry to a new market. Family conglomerates helps you develop relationship faster than any other government or local key players. They can target market opportunities more rapidly, more effectively. The family conglomerate can overcome infrastructure related hurdles, leverage family conglomerate resources and local contract thereby. So example of partnering with family conglomerates. Let me give you an example. Let's say with Kia, the Ford partnered with Kia, the American company Ford and the South Korean company Kia. Kia essentially stands for KIA, Korean International Automobile, to introduce several lines of cars in South Korea. Kia has an efficient, strong distribution and after service network. So it makes sense. Digital Equipment Corporation, DEC, designated Tatung, a Taiwanese family conglomerate, as the main distributor of its workstation client service product in Taiwan. Tatung local experiences was mind blowing, and with that distribution network. In Turkey, Sabanik entered a joint venture with Danone, the French yogurt company, the producers and owners of Evian brands of bottled water. Danone brought ample technical know-how in packaging, in bottling, and a reputation of a healthy and environment-friendly product, but it lacked information of the local market. As a Turkish market leader, Sabanik knows the market retailer, distributor, resulting in a making Danone bottled water market a leader in the very first year itself. So let me go about the marketing to the government. We have to talk about RFPs or request for proposal, popularly might be known also as a tender. Government agencies, the buyer seeks bids from suppliers to produce or bulk commodities, equipment, technology, or to build big power plants, highways, dam, you name it, we have it. Housing, government prefer dealing with vendors that offer complete sales, complete service package. In fact, everything from A to Z to be done by a particular company altogether. Government are attracted by deals that creates local jobs in the market, employ local resources, utilize local practices, reduces import dependency, and provide the country with necessary advantages. Example, plentiful of examples at them. We have Bechtel, we have Siemens, we have General Electric, Hitachi, you name it, and we have regularly participated in bidding of the global tenders for emerging market governments. We have three gorgeous dam in the Yangtze River in China, will be fully operational, is fully operational right now, following by 16 years of construction. Then comes the catering to the economic development, and what do we look into it? The needs for emerging market. First, internationalization firms are more involved in fostering economic development. Yes, they are interested in fostering economic development because then only they will be able to sell more in the EMs or emerging markets. A form of corporate social responsibility because they help develop economies grow most cases they are also making good business sense. Economic development through profitable modernization projects. Entrepreneurship through small scale loans. We have fostered economic development with profitable margins. Historically, few target poor countries. However, if a firm markets appropriate products and employs suitable strategies, doing business in EMs or emerging markets make much more sense and much more profits. Now, can we partner with a state-owned product or the government enterprises? Basically, yes. Why not? Because it provides competitive advantages. Developing infrastructure in terms of transportation, communication, energy, overall the infrastructure develops. Overall, the quality of the life develops for the local people. It helps build a good image for the government. It helps build a good profits for the companies. Job creation happens, investment related to local tax happens, which can see absolutely great improvement in the living standards. Technology transfers promote innovations, local innovation I'm talking about the enterprise, and corporate citizenship sense develops, community oriented social program that fosters economic and social development. Then comes a microfinance to facilitate entrepreneurship, preferring providing small scale financial services such as microcredit, micro loans that assist entrepreneurs in a poor countries. You look at it, and we have done wonderful example. We have an example called Mohammad Yunus, from the founder of the Grameen Bank in Bangladesh, way back in 1974, has approximately 2,100 branches and counting, with 17 microfinance organizations, winner of the Nobel Prize, Peace Prize. uh, it's all about the Grameen borrowers in Bangladesh that goes around it. With this, I come to an end of this presentation. Thank you for watching this video till the end.